Hi, it's Patsy. So this morning I did myself a past life spread and thought I'd come on and share it like I normally do. I've been sitting with it for a couple of hours before I recorded this, and be interesting to see what you can come up with, because I know that people do like to tell me what they see in the cards. So there is a couple what I'm not sure about, and you may be able to help me when I get to those. I'll tell you what I think and what I was getting and what I'm still getting, but then you can tell me what you're getting as well, because I do find it really interesting to see what other people see. So I'm doing it my normal way. I'm not using my books, what I have in my workbooks and what have you, because I just go with what I'm getting intuitively and what I'm feeling from the cards. And they was very talkative today. So the first position, and I will put these underneath because somebody has asked me a couple of times if I will put the positions of the cards in there. So I will put them in there under this video. So the first card is, was I a male or a female? And the two jumped out at me. The first one I turned over was this one. So female, and then this one. So again, female. But what I got when I see these two cards, I thought not only female, but I felt a rich female. I thought somebody who come from a well-to-do family. So, you know, she's laying on chaise lounge, do they call that there? And looking very regal, and it just oozed money, which is very unusual for me because most of my past lives don't tend to have any wealth involved. It's usually from poor stock. But this one seemed to talk to me of wealth in the family, or born into wealth. So that was the first card, and the second one is partnerships. Did I have a partnership, marriage, or that kind of thing? And I got the Two of Cups. So yes, there was a partnership, possibly even a marriage, but definitely an emotional partnership. You know, on that the Three of Cups. You know, so there was this romance, this partnership. Possibly went into marriage because the veil is there as well. So the third question was family. Did I have family? And I got the Three of Swords. So talks to me of sorrow, heartbreak, all the things you associate with the Three of Swords. It can be nothing else with this image either. So there was no children, no family from this relationship. And I kind of also felt when I pulled this that the relationship didn't last either. Whether that was, well, I think it just didn't work out. But yeah, there was no family involved, and I don't think this relationship worked out either. So that was that one. And the next one is what my achievement was in that life. What did I achieve in this lifetime? And I got the Four of Cups, which you would think, how was that achievement? But the key word on this is contemplation. But it was the image, especially when it was paired up with this one. So I think the achievement for me in this lifetime was that I didn't dwell on that feeling of not boredom, not having what I wanted, things not turning out well, feeling dissatisfied with life, and I suppose even boredom. I suppose you could even bring that into it, but I overcome all this. I didn't allow that to take over me. It was that feeling of heartbreak and sorrow and disappointment. I managed not to look on the dark side all the time. I managed to get myself through it without having it in the back of my mind all the time. So these are the next two cards that kind of this is the one on spirituality. The two flew out to me. The first one was this one. So to me, this talks of that I couldn't speak freely, if you like. I couldn't find a way of being able to express what my spirituality was, that I was nervous about expressing that, worried about expressing that. And then I got this one. Again, I suppose you could think it's the same kind of feeling from both, that I couldn't express myself, I wasn't strong enough to express myself. Or the other thing what came to me was that maybe with this one, I didn't express it because I really didn't know what my thoughts were on the subject. So I was kind of always torn about the logic of everything and the spiritual side of everything. So I was kind of torn, and I never really followed this path because I always stopped myself from getting too involved. So these are two I've been sitting with for a good hour, and that is the kind of feeling I'm getting, that I just didn't know which path. So instead of not knowing which way to go, I just didn't go either, and I just kept it all to myself. Because my mind always sort of had an answer for everything, if you know that sort of feeling. But you'll have to let me know what you think of that. So then we go on to the fears of society. Now, this came up, the Nine of Cups, and it's got contentment. So I believe that this lifetime was in a time where, on the whole, people was content, they was happy. There wasn't no real fears that was overpowering anything else. Wishes was coming true, and people was in a good place. So I do find that unusual to be in a position of the fears of society. And to me, that speaks of there was no fears as such. Just maybe some people had wanted this, and that, you know, this something in their life at this time, and when they got it, it probably wasn't what they was hoping it was going to turn out to be. You know, but on the whole, it's quite a positive card for the fears of society. So I do think it was probably a time of calm and peace, and I kind of get that with the other two cards as well. So then it's the joy of society, and I got the Ace of Swords. So to me, you know, this was sort of like the joy of the society was, it was something new, it was a new beginning for everybody. So it could have come after a period of strife, a period of war, a period of unease, and that's why people was feeling contented, because that evil was over, that the fears that he had was over, and you know, that was what they'd been hoping for, and it was now come to an end, and it was now time for this new start. And then for the third one, which is your dreams of society, I got the Three of Pentacles. So these to me is sort of like you've got this new beginning, and you've got to build, you're building up something. So this was the dreams of society, was to build it up again, to expand and build. And so this to me speaks of, there could well have been some sort of trouble, war, something like that, and then it ended, and this new beginning comes along. No one knows quite which way it's going to turn out, but they're wanting to build and to make a future, and to work hard to get what it is that they wanted at that time. So that is what I get for the society of the time. And then the next card is the karmic pattern of this life, and I got home. So as a karmic pattern, you know, to me that kind of speaks of nowhere ever felt like home. You know, to me, that even once I go further into the cards, you'll see what I mean. It's like even though I seem to have been born into this wealthy family, it never really felt like home. And probably, you know, with all the other cards, home seemed to be something that I didn't know where it was, and you'll see what I mean by that. So this is, to me, the karmic pattern is trying to find what home was to me. So then we go on to as you've got, you know, your life as a child. I got wealth. the Nine of Pentacles, so that's wealth. So as childhood, again, like that feeling there that I got of coming from, you know, wealth. This one came up as my childhood, so I do believe that, you know, in this lifetime it was, I was born into a wealthy family. Then I go to adolescence and I get strife. So again, that kind of ties in with what I thought with the other cards, that there'd been some sort of upheaval, uprisal, war, anything like that, which would have happened in my adolescent life. Or it could well be that I had a lot of inner turmoil going on, a lot of things going on inside of me, trying to, you know, work things out and what have you, but things had changed from the childhood, you know, and I had to work all that out, and all these things were going on inside, that kind of feeling. And then as a adult, we've got this one, which is travel. So it's possible that I travelled around, which as an old person, I was still moving, I was still travelling, but I was happy doing it. So, you know, I was happy doing this, the Sun card, you know, I was enjoying this, but it seems I never stopped travelling, I kept moving. And I think this is where this comes into the karmic pattern of the life, because with this movement all the time and moving on and never resting in one place, I never found home. It was even in my old age, I'm still travelling, and it started in my adulthood. And it's possible that when this all went wrong, instead of, you know, allowing it to overwhelm me and take over, I just kept moving around, kept looking, moving, and never really stayed in one place long enough. So that is what I was kind of getting with that. So then I pulled some cards for karmic lessons from that life, what I brought over into this life, you know, karma from that life brought into this life. And I have abandonment, male, disappointment. So again, this is what makes me feel this didn't end well, because this is what I've carried over, worried that, and you know, that I'm going to be abandoned by the other half of the partnership, the relationship side, and find disappointment all the time in my partnerships, marriages, whatever. There's always that underlying worry that they're either going to leave or I'm going to be disappointed. So this is what makes me feel that in this life, past life, what I'm talking about, this was either abandonment or disappointment, and all that like that. So that's why I've carried that over. And then I pulled a card to ask what I could do to get rid of that in this life, you know, that karma in this life. And it's the Queen of Swords, so it's perception. So it's sort of realising that, yes, just because this probably happened in this past life doesn't mean it's going to happen in this life. I'm just got to look at things differently. And to be honest, this is something that, you know, when I saw this, it made me smile, because this is something, you know, that is always in the back of my mind, always has been. So yeah, so that is, so then I used, that's my dad away. This one, what I got yesterday, what I showed, and I asked if there was anything that they wanted to bring out to add to the story. And the first one that come out was this one, practice positivity. And this kind of, again, this boat again, travelling again, kind of went with this one. Because this was my biggest achievement. I didn't allow this to take over my life, how this relationship and that made me feel. I looked on the positive side of things. I covered it up, if you like. I wore my mask, and I used positivity to get me through and kept moving forward. But this one is create boundaries, and I think this lifetime is past life, what I'm talking about. I probably put on a mask. I didn't show my true self. I put boundaries up so I didn't allow nobody to get close to me, and I think I do that now. So they was quite interesting when they come out as well. So yes, so that is what I got from the cards and what I've been sitting with, and I shall continue to sit with. But then I wanted to know, I mean, I can't working out, because you know you work out the time frame by what you're kind of getting, and I'm trying to work out where this time period is kind of fitting in. But there was a book that I did show what helps you work out the area that you possibly could have had this past life, and you do it by you count up the cards that you've used. So this is the 2 of Cups, so you'd use the 2. This is the 6 of Cups, so you would add 6 and 2 together, and so on and so on. And then the one that's got the highest amount, in my case it was Swords. There was 23 Swords. So that goes down first. Then the Pentacles was 22, Cups 15, Wands 13. So what you do is you print a map out, a world map, on a piece of A4. You make a middle point, which is there, which should go through Africa or Egypt. So that is the area that the middle, you know, where the crossover is, and that's where you start when you work it out. You start at that crossover in the middle of the, just, I don't know if you can see, just there. And then for every movement, so every, so like I got 23 swords, so you would calculate it as 1/4 of an inch every movement. So for every, so for 23 that worked out at 5, and let me just work it out. I'm trying to work out how I've done this now. Yeah, so it's 1/4 of inch, so 1/4 of inch at 23 worked out at 5 inches and whatever it is, I can't think straight at the minute, but you see what I mean. So it was about 5.5 inches, because you, for every one you do use 1/4 inch, so you do 23 times 1/4 of an inch. What does it know? So anyway, and then you, with the swords, it goes west, so you move west on your map, counting the 5 and I think it was 5 1/4, 5.5, whatever it was, inches. So you need a ruler. So then you go, once you've done that, you go to the second highest, which in my case was the Pentacles, and Pentacles go north. So when you got to the point where your swords, what was going west gets to, you then go north because it's Pentacles. And you just do that all the way through the 4 suits, and then it'll bring you, pinpoint it to a place. So swords, you go west, cups, you go south, Pentacles, you go north, and Wands, you go east. So you sort of, whichever order you got the most in the suits, then you follow that order. Sometimes you come back on yourself, but that's how you work it out. And this took me to Toronto in Canada. So this is where it pinpointed me, and like I said, every like 23 swords, so that is 1/4 of inch for every movement. So you know you get 4 quarters in an inch, so you can work it out from there. So yeah, so that's how you kind of work out. That probably sounded a bit, my head's all over the place today. But if you need me to further explain that, I'll try to explain that in a more thingy way. But if you remember, 1/4 of inch for every movement. So for every 4 swords, say that you get, that'll be an inch. So if you get 23, then you know you just have to work it out, and you know how many inches you've got to go across. And then you go swords west, cups south, Pentacles north, Wands east. And you do it in the order of the most pips in order. and that's where it kind of pinpoints, not always totally accurate, but it gives you an idea of the area that you're looking at. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so that is the past life reading that I've done this morning. I'm going to carry on sitting with it, but you'll have to let me know what you think in below, and I hope this made sense. I could have probably explained it better, but I tried. But if it doesn't make sense, just ask me again and I'll try and put it all down. So thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.